IRS data shows that there are hundreds of accounts out there, Roth IRA accounts, that are in the tens of millions, hundreds of millions, even billions of dollars. In this video today, I want to look at how you would accumulate such a huge fortune in your Roth. We'll talk about Peter Thiel, who turned less than $2,000 in his Roth to over $5 billion. My name is Scott Caulfield. I'm a CPA and a CFA charter holder and the founder of Sophos Wealth Management. So let's look at Peter Thiel to start with. He was one of the founders of PayPal. Now, he put, they think somewhere around $2,000 into his Roth IRA back in 1997. He invested in 1.7 million of PayPal shares when he was an early founder. Now, he bought these shares for less than a penny. In fact, 1/100th of a penny. So for $1,700, he got $1.7 million shares of PayPal. A few years later, in 2002, eBay bought out PayPal. And Peter Thiel's Roth, he sold his shares, and his Roth was then worth $28.5 million. According to IRS records, he had only put $2,000 in to start with, no additional contributions. So he turned $2,000 into $28.5 million. He went on to found Palantir. It's a data and analytics company, and he bought private shares in that with his Roth as well. Again, for just tiny price per share. He was also an early investor in Facebook. He invested $500,000 in Facebook shares back in 2004. Once again, these were private shares not available to the public. Some of these private shares, he turned his account from that $28.5 million all the way up to over $5 billion by 2019. And he had, it looks like, potentially hundreds of private shares and investments. So just really unprecedented growth. Along the way, IRS records show that he potentially took out millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars from his account as well. So from less than 2,000 all the way up to 5 billion. So how do you go about achieving such huge returns in a Roth? Well, first of all, that story should make it fairly obvious. That's not going to be something that most people can replicate. Almost anybody. First of all, you'd need access to private shares. And it's questionable that you could even get such good deals anymore. There's the articles about Peter Thiel, there's some discussion about questioning the valuation that was placed on the shares that were purchased in there. Was 1/100th of a cent the right price for those PayPal shares? Probably not. So, the vast majority of people do not have access to such private shares, private investments in Facebook. And even if you could get private shares, do you have any idea if that company is going to work out? What are the odds that it's the next PayPal, Facebook, etc.? Not very good. Now, something that, the typical person could attempt would be a single stock concentration. So you're trying to hit a home run. One of the most successful stocks of the last 25, 30 years is here in my backyard, Amazon. So if you look at Amazon's split adjusted IPO price, it was 7.5 cents per share back in 1997. Today, current price, as we sit here in early March, it's around $178 a share. So if you took a Roth back in 97 and you invested, let's say, $10,000 into Amazon shares, that's all you bought. Today, that account would be worth around $23.7 million. That is unbelievably great growth. So from 10,000 to 23.7 million, that is how you would try to kind of replicate this strategy. There are hundreds of accounts out there that are in the tens and hundreds of millions of dollars. And I suspect the vast majority of those either were hedge funds with carried interest or had concentrated single stock positions. Now, this is worth another discussion. Is it worth even trying to attempt this? As a financial advisor, I have to say no. The odds that you find the next Amazon and buy it at its IPO and then hold it through all the ups and downs over the preceding 25, 30 years are just so low. And for every Amazon, there are hundreds of failures, especially, you go back to the late 90s when Amazon IPO'd. The promise of tech was just so huge, but so many of those companies ended up going to zero. For every Amazon, there's 100 pets.com. And, for most pre-retirees, especially if you're in, let's say, your 50s, you're 10 years out from retirement, potentially, the goal is typically not to get 100-fold return in your accounts. I mean, while we would love that, most people need to just kind of take care of the basics. They need solid returns, good asset allocation, because the risk reward doesn't make sense. If your retirement account saw a 30-50% drawdown, for a lot of people, that would be life-changing and completely ruin their retirement. They don't need those kind of returns to fund the appropriate retirement. But anyways, it's kind of a fun thought exercise of how would you achieve that? And again, I think you'd have to do it through concentration in one of those stocks that ended up just having a huge future return and have the fortitude to hold it through all the ups and downs. So interesting thought experiment. I always kind of like looking at these things and reading up on how guys actually achieved it. I encourage you to visit my website if you want more information about me and my firm. And please like this video and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for tuning in.